Connected to iPhone and Galaxy Tab A2016.
No, I swear.
So today I want to go through a little more about how we languish in our language and what can never get undone from the mess we're in, because the words are basically Phoenician, Latin, and Greek amalgamations with some British thrown in there. But it's all, a lot of our language is meant to deceive or have secret hidden meanings. So let's get into it. Now, when you go into court, we're based on water. Our legal system is under Roman Latin law, and we're considered to be at sea. We're fictitious characters, we're straw men, but it's all based on water. And this goes way back to the 13 and 1400s when Pope Boniface VIII said he's going to be the vicar for Christ and created the first SQV, Unum Sanctum Trust, and put us on ships. And that's why we always have in our Admiralty Court, we're on our citizenship, we're on our leadership, we're on our relationship, we're on our ownership, friendship, hardship. partnership, membership, internship, worship, sportsmanship, sponsorship, relationship, craftsmanship, companionship. Why are we always on a ship? We go into court, we go in through the docket, and there we find the bailiff who's going to bail us out. So everything's based on water, including our banking system. This is why we have a currency and we have liquid assets, and we have deposit slips, and we have a docket. We have cash flow. We have frozen assets and liquid assets. So everything is based on water when we're in the court system, and we're just, like I said, straw man and fictitious characters. Now, this is Jordan Maxwell, or I forget his other name. Judges have a Masonic hammer or gavel which they hit to declare the word of law. The idea of law comes from the biblical 10 stone commandments, and so it is said that you, quote, break the law. You're breaking the commandment. Judges always sit on a 3-tier high platform representing the first 3 blue degrees of Freemasonry. The same tri-tier platform is found at Congress and the altar in most Catholic and Protestant churches, 3 tiers high. That's also why you give someone the 3rd degree related to the 3rd degree of Masonry, where the initiate is asked a series of probing questions he must answer correctly in order to become a Master Mason, which is the 3rd degree. There's usually a gate around the church altars, just as there are gates and swinging doors in every courtroom, called the docket. The congregation at church all stand up to recognize the priest, just as all rise when the judge walks in. Judge takes a recess because he is in court playing a game of 10 commandments, with lawyers who play the dialectic antagonist game, bouncing the advantage into each other's courts. In the courtroom, witnesses must place their hand on the Old New Testament before giving their testimony, just as priest's sermon is often called testimony, also known as mon from moon in testimony, and sermon. Also, to testify used to be you had to grab your testicles in the old, and that's why women could not testify, because they could not grab their testicles to assert themselves in court. Also, the black robes are Satan robes, and the gavel is the phallic gavel of a penis that he's ruling with. As a witness swears in, one hand is placed on the Bible while the other is held up. In church, where parishioners feel the Holy Spirit offering during psalm, they will hold one or both hands up to praise the Lord. Quote, then when you get further into Saturn, you begin to understand his color is black, and he was god of one of the many different Semitic tribes or groups, and one of his symbols was a square. Then you get into the square black mortarboard that the university or high school students wear when they graduate. When you graduate from high school, you come out of the processionally with a black robe, which is black for Saffron, the god of Hebrews, requiring that you wear the square mortarboard on the top of your head. As I said, this is Saturnian in principle. The square mortarboards are, of course, used by the Freemasons for their plaster, so that is why you wear a square mortarboard when you graduate, ultimately becoming an alumni. It all has to do with Freemasonry. It all has to do with control of the education in this country. Freemasonry is owned by the Jesuits. He doesn't go into there. Jordan Maxwell doesn't go Jesuit, or recently has. Square mortarboard on the head is usually black, the color of Saturn, one of the ancient Hebrew gods. This is the same black used on the robe the judge wears when he is going to throw you in jail, because black represents Saturn. Saturn is the old Semitic god. This is why churches and courtrooms look the same today, because when you go into churches, you sit out here with the poor folks in the chairs out here in the pews, but you cannot go in onto the lifted higher elevation. You can't go inside the gate. You can't go inside the little doors. Only the priest can go inside there and officiate you. You stay on the outside with the poor folks. The altar is always raised at least 3 tiers, because in Egypt that was the way it was always done. The altar was always raised so the people could see the representative of God dressed in black. The priest comes out on the altar dressed in black, and he's officiating for you. He is the mediator between you and God. That is the same thing that happens in the courtroom. You walk in and you're a part of the poor folks sitting out there on your ship, and here's the fence or gate that separates you. The attorneys, who are known as bar attorneys for British Accredited Registry, registered under the City of London, all U.S. bar attorneys, you must be a member of the bar to practice in the corporation of the courts, who are for-profit corporations in our legal system, and the attorneys are pledged to the British Accredited Registry, or bar, where the corporate papers are based in Puerto Rico. The attorneys go inside the gate, and you are the mouthpiece to talk to God and see if you can get off, and the lawyers will be the mediator between God and the judge who judges you and man. That is where all this comes from in our society of today. Jordan Maxwell, Matrix of Power. All right, we can go into court. We have a hearing and present oral arguments to plead our case. The spoken word over the written word. That's why it's Phoenician or definition. Definition. Get it? This is why we languish, Old French languere, be listless, pine, grieve, fall ill. From vulgar Latin languere, from Latin languere, to be faint or weak, with our definition of language. Alpha, beta are the first two letters that make up our language. Once you start to understand the meaning of words, you will start to see this reality. There are four things to consider. 1, definitions need to be understood. 2, etymology of words needs to be studied. It's the study of the origin of words. Phonics is utilized in everything. This is where the Phoenicians are attached to phonics. Example, there's 3 definitions that mean completely different things. There's a letter C, there's the ocean C, and then you can see with your eyes. 4, word splitting, the practice of splicing words into various ways to find hidden elements contained within them. An example of word splitting is language. Lang, gu, age. Land means monster that protects the noble ones. Gu, the god of war, and age, the age of the zodiac. So the final meaning of the word language is a monster of war that protects the noble ones or golden gods throughout the ages. Language, as we languish. A little sidebar fun, why do we have noses that run and feet that smell? Why do we drive on a parkway yet park on a driveway? Why at a ball field, if it hits the foul pole, it's considered a fair ball and a home run? And why do we call it a freezer burn? Did you notice the term words is an anagram for the term sword? Switch the letter S in the term words to the front and you get the term sword. The letter S goes one way and then the other. So it also crosses over the other side equally and can go both ways, like the S in snake, serpent, slither, sin. The letter M is shaped like a mountain. V for a valley. T as in top, B for breast, and D for dome, and C for crescent. Do you think this is by mistake? Do you think this just happens? No, this is all by design, folks. Words are like swords because they can be used to harm you. In a way, words are more powerful than swords for the reason that they can harm or heal you at the deepest levels of your being. In Greek, the term word means logos. The word logos is defined as, quote, the source that controls the universe, the written word or inspiration of God, or a logical and rational argument. In ancient Greek philosophy, the word logos is defined as, quote, the controlling principle of the universe. Belief includes the word lie in it, in the middle, to be lying with an F. Alien, a lion. They're lying to you folks about the aliens. And then when you tell your vision, you tell your lie to your vision. Turn off your television and tell your vision, folks. And remember, when you say the word belief, you will be lying. You'll be lying with belief. Try not using the word belief. It's not easy to do. Question, what is the most important word of all time? The answer is no. Most people will spell it N-O, but the answer is K-N-O-W. Completely different meanings, but exactly sounding the same. It's meant to confuse by obfuscation. Matthew 11:15, he that hath ears to hear, let him hear. Earth is art of the heart. Earth, move the H to the front and we get heart. Hear, hear. Nothing is true, everything is a lie, folks. They play games with us for a long time. All right, another word that has a strong connection to the term word is the term light. Light is sometimes referred to as a photon. In physics, a photon is usually indicated by the symbol Y, which is the lowercase of the Greek symbol gamma. Some etymologists believe that the Greek word gamma is where the word grammar originated from. In English, grammar means, quote, the study of classes of words, their inflections and their functions and relations in sentence, end quote. Spells are cast in schools and spelling, and the bell rings at each class to disassociate from the last lesson. This comes from Pavlov's dog theory, where they rang the bell and the dog would salivate. So they instituted the bell system into public schools and most schools so that the children, when the bell would ring, would forget what they just learned. You must remember the people in power do not want you to take their power. So they'll give you a little way up, and then they'll set up progressive taxes, but they'll never get to the top. You'll never take their power away because they're controlling everything. The ringing bell was taken directly from Ivan Pavlov's behavioral science theory. Origins of our deceptive and deceiving language. Language is used to interact with one another. It's paramount importance in understanding law. We speak Phoenician each day without even knowing it. It's the language of sound. Before they had the written word, it was an oral history, oral language. Pick up the phone, phonics, sounds, science of sound, from the Greek phone sound, from pi root ba, to speak, to tell, to say. What is definition? It's a statement of the meaning of the term or the word. Or is it something else? Is it Phoenician, that the Phoenicians and the Canaanites have defined the way we speak still to this day, thousands of years later? So you go to the elections and you make your selections, but they're really gross misdirections. When people vote, where do they do so? In a voting terminal or polling station. People are voting, not voting, because they are going to the polls, which the electric battery polls of positive and negative, to place their votes on the candidate that they want to see out in charge. The politician that receives the most votes is that one that is going to be put in the position of power. It's called power. It's not called power politics for nothing. It's also why we got credit charge cards. We're using electric. The Electoral College of Electors are the ones that actually determine who will be president, not any popular poll, media, or statistic. Registering to vote is an admission that the declarant is subject to the exclusive legislative power of the corporate Congress and is a 14th Amendment citizen, a second-class citizen when you register. Regis means crown, stir means to enroll, so you're enrolling in the crown, Regis, crown. By voting, you're contracting as a straw man, a fictitious character in the eyes of the law, a human resource, not a human just being. That's why they call us a Department of Human Resources, just like water resources. All right, a sidebar. Did you know that Jesuits invented the Fahrenheit thermometer? That's why when it unfreezes, it's at 33 degrees. Get it? All right, now we went through the banking stuff already with the liquid, frozen, liquid assets. Common law is also known as maritime law. Mar means sea law. This was in the 14th, 15th century. Like I said, the Testamentary Siskiyou Trust placed all lost souls at sea. So when we go into court, we sail in our citizenship to argue about loss and damages, our contractual relationships, partnerships, and ownerships. It's all about monetary loss and injury compensation. Who did what to whom? When we enter the court to play ball, we'll see who win in the docket. This is where the ship's birth. The rules come down from the 3 Blue Masons degrees with phallic gavel to determine who is liable. Okay, resident. Res means property or thing. To identify is ident. Identify the property or thing. You put a P in the front and capitalize it and means principal. So the president of the Corporation of the United States of America, capital letters, Washington, D.C., is the corporate CEO, the president. He's ruling over the property or the thing. That'd be us, folks. Also, when you're born, you slide down your mother's birth canal and you land on your birth certificate where the hospital's paid to register, and so that banksters can account for you in the securitized debt from the bankruptcy the United States never got out of since 1933. This is why the more debt they run up, the more we owe, and we never got out of bankruptcy since 1933, and our birth certificates are securitized, tradable commodities. All right, a government, govern, means to...
Now, like dude said, I'm gonna come back to this video, but he said you went in debt to the banksters in 1933, right? You went in debt to the damn bankers in 1933. It's the kind of shit I've been trying to tell people about forever, yo. It's on this one. Let's see. Alright.
Follow me, got me starting to think that it's hard. So they have a better chance when they let the dice roll. Everything internet, hardbacks are old news, but you gotta keep the new mixed with the old school. Got a lot of new laws, hope you know the old rules, cause a young dummy only grows into an old fool. Guidelines, codex, alimentarius, feeding us poison but won't pay to bury us. 1933 the country went bankrupt. 1935 the bank said they own us. Now we all born with the market.
You heard that right. 1933 the country went bankrupt. 1935 the bank said they own us. Here, listen to it one more time now.
Old school, got a lot of new laws, hope you know the old rules, cause a young dummy only grows into an old fool. Guidelines, codex, alimentarius, feeding us poison but won't pay to bury us. 1933 the country went bankrupt. 1935 the bank said they own us. Now we all born with the mark of the beast. Social security number.
That's what I was trying to do with my music back in the day. Put that information
Means
in
to
there.
rule or control. Meant is for. Also, when you're born, you slide down your mother's birth canal and you land on your birth certificate where the hospital's paid to register, and so that banksters can account for you into securitized debt from the bankruptcy the United States never got out of since 1933. This is why the more.
So essentially, I was putting lessons in my music. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of rappers do that shit, yo. You just gotta be aware and catch that shit. And those are the rappers that I really like to listen to, you know. So I tried to rap like that back in the day, but nobody wasn't on that shit, yo. So it is what it is. I still listen to my music now because the more I study, I kind of, I don't know. I don't want to say like I saw the future or whatever, but my songs are still really prevalent and they still make a lot of sense, even 2 presidents later. And I even say that in one song, like, president don't change shit, you know what I'm saying? That shit don't, because the president changed, that don't mean shit really changed, though.
Debt they run up, the more we owe, and we never got out of bankruptcy since 1933, and our birth certificates are securitized, tradable commodities. All right, govern means to rule or control. Ment is for mensa or mind, to control the mind. They tell us what they're doing. Straw man is a front. A third party is put up in name only to take part in the transaction. Term is also used in commercial and property context when a transfer is made to a party. A straw man for the purpose of retransferring the transfer in order to accomplish some purpose not otherwise permitted. We're not humans, folks. We're a legal fictitious entity. Since your birth, your artificial person has been considered a slave or indentured servant to the various federal, provincial, and municipal governments via your state-issued, state-created birth certificate in the name of you in all caps. Your birth certificate was issued so that the issuer could claim exclusive title to the legal person created. This was further compounded when you voluntarily obtained a driver's license and social security number, also all in caps. The state even owns your personal and private life through your state-issued marriage license, issued in all caps. You have had no rights since birth, marriage, nor will you have them even in death unless you recapture your straw man. The name on tombstones and cemeteries are also in all caps. The state holds the title to your legal person. It's created for your birth certificate. That's why they give you a certificate, not the actual title. The holder in due course of the instrument, that is yourself, has to reclaim and redeem it. The straw person is a person according to the legal dictionary. Person, a human being, an entity that, such as a corporation that is recognized by law as having the rights and duties of a human being. So this is how they give you the rights, but they don't give you the acknowledgement as being a human being. So what is a human being? It's a person of the male sex. According to Black's Law Dictionary, which they use in the Roman Catholic law system we're still under today after, since 1400s. A human being is a male sex, a male of the human species above the age of puberty. In the most extended sense of the term includes not only adult male sex of the human species, but women and children. In feudal times, it was vassal, a tenant, or feudatory. All right, April 1933, this is when Roosevelt, the Knights of Malta, and Freemason made executive order All persons are required to deliver on or May 1st all gold coin bullion now owned by them in the Federal Reserve. So they took our gold away. Now we're $21 trillion in debt, folks. Do you think they're going to do it again to us? Look at the new $100 bill. Half of it is completely in gold on the right side with a gold inkwell, a gold feather, and there's gold writing in the background. If you look very closely, it's the second paragraph of the Declaration of Independence talking about abolishing the government, the new $100 bill issued in 2013. All right, in June 1933, we operate as a commerce. Commerce is based on agreement or contract. It's contractual law. That's why you sign your name, now a thumbprint or a swipe. You are agreeing to the fictitious character as a straw man. When the real flesh and blood step into their process, we become the surety for the fictional straw man. It's a trust. We then become liable for the debts.
Yeah, I took a little vacation, yo. I was in South Carolina for almost 2 weeks, yo. But I'm back now. Apologize about that. But I really had to go and do some stuff. So, yeah, and I feel like I started feeling weird like days ago. Like, yo, I need to go paint. It started getting to me, yo. No lie, like, haven't been in the studio in 2 weeks. And I took my sketch pad down there and I finished the drawing. So I did do that, but yeah, I'm happy to be home. Honestly, I am happy to be home. And I thought I was gonna be able to get this painting done for our members show, but I don't think that's gonna happen. Me?
Abilities and obligations of the straw man, and we relinquish our protected characters. We stand up for the fictional straw man. This is why when you go into court and the judge says, "Are you so and so? Do you understand?" and you say yes, you're agreeing to being that fictitious character. All right, corporation. The word corpse is the base root of corporation. All right. So ration the corp is to ration the corpse, the dead. You're rationing the dead. All right? And in Law's Dictionary again, only his successors in some particular station who are unincorporated by law in order to give them some legal capacities and advantages, particularly that of a perpetuity, which in their natural state as persons they could not have. In a corporation's soul, one person holds both operational positions of the organization. A corporation's soul may be established under legislative authority. It is considered by statute a citizen of the government. You are owned. The people are in the state and national government at that time. The public government is artificial entity. Who is a government? Point to me as a person being a government. The government is owned and controlled by the same people. It's a sole organization, not an aggregate organization. The straw man, being artificial, lives in the artificial place called the public, okay? This is necessary and proper because the creator of an entity has the right and control of it. So we create it by signing our name, and they take control of it by putting us in their system. Since the government has created the straw man, it is only right that the straw man live under the rules of its creator. So far, the readers might be saying to themselves, what? Precisely, watt. A watt is a unit of power that is equal to 1 joule per second. And this correlates with the situation when people say someone isn't very bright because they need to ask the same question over again. What? What? Wait. That person is said to be dim because they are not enlightened. Dim-wit. You could, of course, refuse everything that is being shown, but that just creates a negative ionic polarity charge within your own biology. Hence, to refuse, because a fuse is an electrical device that interrupts the flow of current if it becomes overloaded. I trust this will not confuse the readers. The use of the word PIN is the reason that banks get you to use a PIN number when using a bank card. Well, the Spanish word born translates to terminal and the point of connection to current of electricity. When people travel to and from airports or bus stations, where they arrive and depart? At the terminal. And as I said, when you use the credit card, you are charged as in charge card. Logos translates to ratio, symbol, reason, idea, and logic. The ancient Greek believed that the power of the logos can be expressed through words and be used to create mystical things through sound. Have you ever wondered why the symbols of corporations are called logos? It has to do with magic and sacred geometry. The process of using logos, source, energy, and force to create things such as sacred geometry can be seen in cymatics. That is where sound is used to create geometric, sacred geometric forms. All right, cosmology and language. You know how the day of the week got their name. Sunday, it represents the mineral gold. It represents the sun's day. Monday is the moon day for Luna or Lunatics Day. Tuesday is iron, Marti or Mars, or Tyre's god of war after the Norway god. Wednesday is under Quicksilver, the day of Mercury. It's Woden's day, another Norwegian god. Thursday is the tin of Jupiter. That's Thor's day, okay? Friday is Copper or Venera, Venus, god. Freya is Aphrodite's day. Friday, Freya's day. Saturday is Saturn's day, the god of agriculture and lead, because it's so heavy and dense. There's 7 days of the week. There's 7 sacred planets. There's 7 sacred metals of ancient alchemy. 7 continents, 7 seas, 7 energy chakras in the human body, 7 colors of the rainbow, 7 tones in our voice, 7-year itch, 7 hills in Rome, 7 hills in Washington, D.C., and 7 wonders of the ancient world in the 7th heaven. And look at how one is born into the world, or world. Why are we world? First off, from a pedantic perspective, this should be obvious since the world is world on its axis. The writer of the Matrix movies also knew why, because the main character, Neo, is actually derived from the Latin word neo that means spin or wave. The separation of our body from the sun works in a 7-step process. This is why there are 7 major planets and give us 7 days of the week. There are 7 notes in the mode of music, and we also see 7 in the rainbow. The color, sounds, and words that are world are all sep-rated because the prefix sep comes from septum, meaning 7, which gives us the word September, which was originally the 7th month of the Roman calendar. There are 7 chakras in the human body. The ancients called spinning the wheels of light. This is appropriate because their colored wheels are world, and we live in a world of colors because we are humans. Now you know why it's called humans. Hue is simply a word for color, and the quality of color determines.
Yeah, I can't believe that motherfucker just said that shit, yo. Human. The colored man. Colored man. Yeah. This is, I don't know if you know linguistics and all this shit, yo. Like I heard a lot of this stuff before, but that's why you gotta really pay attention when you speak and converse with someone, because when them words come into play, you better know your damn words and what the hell you really trying to say.
The dominant wavelength of each color. There's an astounding amount of indication and evidence to show that we are multidimensional beings that are caught in a cycle of separation, which is a certain mathematical ratio of vibration waves holding us prisoner in an endless movie-like loop. The ratio is a ration of the God ratio within the base 10 reality. 10 fingers and 10 toes, as the Swedish Teo states, with the meaning of 10. The fake gods that hold us all prisoner also need a ration us because we are their food, and a ration is the food allowance given for one day. The separation that is given to the gods while we exist inside of this, our cinematic matrix reality. Here's an important one. Soldiers are sold to die. Soldiers sold to die. And that is why they have dog tags issued to them, as Henry Kissinger has famous said. They're the dogs of war. We are told never to swear. Notice the word "wear" with the S in front. It can go both ways. Yet when we go into court, we must raise our hands and swear to tell the truth, the whole, with the hole in it, truth, and nothing but the truth. Yet few judges can even tell you the difference between The truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, I know because I've asked judges and they can't tell you. All right, when we submit, we place ourselves under the control of another. So when you submit an application, you are yielding your power. You let down, you put under, you reduce. When you apply for an application, you put one's faculties to some task or career. Is there a war on drugs? Then why are there drugstores on every corner? Is there a war on drinking and driving and DUI, driving under the influence? Why do they sell liquor at gas stations? To get you gassed? So this is why bail-ins are becoming so common now around Europe. A bail-in is when the banks come and take your money out of your account and say, sorry, it's not there anymore. They call it rehypothecation. This is stealing by the banks and brokers for their own purposes, are called a bail-in. This is happening more and more, and with the United States, $21 trillion in current debt, I guarantee you, money in your bank account is going to be taken at one time or another, folks, because it's a promissory note and it's not your money. It's electronics on a screen, but you go and try and get your money out of there more than a few grand, good luck with that. And if you do get more than a few grand and have to fill out all the forms, the IRS is going to contact you. Department of Homeland Security is going to attack you as well. And if you believe that the FDIC has enough insurance to cover all your money in the bank and everybody's, think again, folks. We're $21 trillion in debt. How can they have money but print more money of fake non-value behind it? This is why they're coming for the gold. All right, a police state is a revenue agent making money, revenue agent that enforces the corporate government contracts and protects the assets of the corporate government, including human resources. It compels performance, no injured party necessary. One who has policing powers is found in a police state. They're enforcers of policies. That's why they become policemen. And to register literally is to the queen, as I said. The regis meaning king. This is why you get a certificate and not title on your cars as well. The original car manufacturer owns the title, but you get the certificate. When you enroll, you register your child. You put it into inventory. Did you know that? People are known as chattel in legalese. We call our animals cattle. They call us chattel. Again, this is why we're called human resources. And just substitute the word water for humans, and we're water resources. And on international, now another important thing is that our court systems, every time you challenge up. So you go from the local to the state to the federal, and now you go into international laws. And that's even more corrupt the higher you go. So you never get satisfaction. It's by design. All right, the matrix is furthermore the Latin word for womb, which is where our body ship is birthed and birthed. All ships find their birth when they reach the port or dock. When Neo woke up in the Matrix, he was inside a battery womb or iPod, which is why Apple Computer sells everyone iPods and iPads to reflect this. The definition of pad that concurs with this is that of temporary living quarters. We're all living on our iPads or iPods because we bit the apple of sin. Now you see here on the left that the original Apple computer sold for $666.66. Not a coincidence, folks, or a coincident. The word apple is also phonetically spoken as a pull because our body ships are receiving a tow on the consciousness dreamline of reality, which is why we have a skull. A skull, yes, because a skull is an oar that is used for sculling, and a sculling is the propelling of a boat by an oar of the stern. John Scully ran Apple Computer for 10 years. Another coincidence. Everything in this reality is designed to make us fearful, and this starts right at birth. It has been said over and over again to humanity that man is born in sin. Man bit the apple to then continuously be reborn in his or her Apple iPods, which becomes unrepayable debt. That is why Webster's dictionary defines English word debt is sin, to pay the debt of sin, which is the price of our birth or birth in the moon. Remember that 7 days of the week do not include an earth day, since man is truly born in sin. All right, another important one. How do you say hi to somebody? You say hello. Every time we say hi to somebody, we're saying them to go to hell. This is how much control they got over our language. Every ship, including the human body, is eventually brought into port and then is docked. This is why there's a doctor that delivers the body ship, because it is a new liver or liver being produced. Another living being that is being delivered by the doctor as docked ore. Hence, doctor is phonetically docked or, and you as a human being are the or the ore that is going to be mined for gold in your mind, because mind is mind, giving us the actual basis of the Sumerian depiction of the Anunnaki coming here for gold, because we are the human resources that mine for gold. It's all a play on words, folks, but it has secret meanings behind it. This also displays the fact that humans are seen as chattel property or false gods. When they say it's mine, we are the endless resource being mined, and companies do not have human resource departments because the title sounds fancy. You're also ore, which has an ore because you're the body ship that needs to paddle through this existence, which is the sea of electricity. Doctors use paddles to resuscitate someone who is in the cardiac arrest for this reason. Why do they use to resuscitate the patient? They use electrical currents, just like the sea that has currents. What else do doctors do? They perform surgery because of an electrical surge to the body patient. The docked ore is also the connection to the body ship and sea terminology. Also, our money is currency. So if the doctor has delivered the docked ore, an ore that is sitting in its berth and no longer rolling. All right, a double cross. We see them in the logos all the time. Look at on Exxon. Look at there. It's a double cross. Nabisco, a double cross. They're double crossing us, folks. An act of betraying an ally, friend, or associate. The Cross of Lorraine has long a history of use in the secret societies. The Illuminati bloodlines, including the double crosses, use the crest of the Lithuania, Hungary, and Slovakia. The Knights of Malta use the red cross, as does the largest oil company in the world, Exxon, Nabisco, etc., etc. So anyway, I just wanted to give you a whole list of these languages that we language in, and how our language betrays us, and how they use it against us. And the court system is rigged to put us on our ships and fictitious characters as straw man, and we have to get off the ship. We have to get away from the legal system. We have to create our new languages, or we're going to languish in their dominance as we have been for thousands and thousands of years, and we have to stop the Babylonian days that have been going on forever. And lastly, I want to bring up the word Israel. The word Israel is Isis, Ra, and Elohim, the gods of ancients. Isis, Ra, the sun god, Isis, the moon god, and Elohim, the god of gods, Israel. It all goes back to the Babylonian days. So let's stop babbling on and let's move on. Thanks for listening from A Plain Truth.
It wasn't a lot of new information, but you know, some good stuff to make you want to research. Do I believe everything he said? No. Is there truth to some of the stuff he said? Hell fucking yeah.
Hi, and welcome to another video from aplaintruth.info. Hey, I thought I'd do another word game with you. Words have meanings, words are swords. I got a lot of good positive comments. I got some great contributions from people. And I just wanted to further it a little along. One of the comment sections turned me on to a website, YouTube, called Chiron Last, and had a lot of great information, which I'll be posting in the show liner notes as well. A lot of this comes from him, as well as Russell Pine, who's also known as Jordan Maxwell or Jordan Maximus, from the Unveiling Isis of Madame Blavatsky. So let's get started. All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their...
See, he just, this is where I know most of this information from. He said the gentleman's name the first time, and the last thing he just did is Jordan Maxwell. But then he just said he goes by another name. I've listened to Jordan Maxwell a lot, and I have one of my best friends has actually had phone conversations with Jordan Maxwell, and I've never heard him use an alias, but he just says that Jordan Maxwell also is known as what? Or who?
Hi, and welcome to another video from aplaintruth.info. Hey, I thought I'd do another word game with you. Words have meanings, words are swords. I got a lot of good positive comments. I got some great contributions from people. And I just wanted to further a little along. One of the comment sections turned me on to a website, YouTube, called Chiron Last, and had a lot of great information, which I'll be posting in the show liner notes as well. A lot of this comes from him, as well as Russell Pine, who's also known as Jordan Maxwell or
Russell
Jordan Maximus from the Unveil.
Russell Pine is Jordan Maxwell or Jordan Maximus. I've never heard that before. But yeah, if you want to get into some of the symbolisms and different things like that, once again, it's always good to listen to more than one person and physically pick up some books and read the books yourself from other authors who have done extensive research. Don't try to get all your information from one source. It never works out. But yeah, so I've listened to a lot of Jordan Maxwell actually, and he talks about maritime law, and he was the one that put me up on Saturn, and you know, why do we wear earrings and things like that. Just a bunch of symbolism, and really cool stuff to research, you know. But now he says he calls himself something else.
Isis of Madame Blavatsky. So let's get started. All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts, his acts being 7 ages. We went through the sevens numbers in the first video I put out like this. We make our entrance as we enter in our trance until we exit or exit from our existence. X is 10 in Roman numerals. If we say 10, we are Satan, saying 10. And I'll get into X a little more later and why that's important. Everything is frequency, vibration, and energy. Nikola Tesla. We're a battery. Earth is a battery. That's why our dome is home. You had me at Om. Om is the vibrational frequency that is all of existence in Buddhist Vedic teachings. Om is also an electric unit. We have freedom, wisdom, kingdom, shalom. To omit is to leave out. AD, for the birth of Christ event, is Anno Domino. Domino means feast, the year of the feast. Who is feasting? And this was sent in the comment section. I just wanted to put it in here in the Beli Eve. Everything became evil, ever, since Eve ate from the apple that evening. I don't know what toge means, but I'll say apple. We were more naive than she was believing evolution that would eventually make us deviate from the Most High even more. Very good, whoever submitted that. And we gotta we're always returning, we're remembering, we're revolving, we're reforming, which means we're coming back again and again because we don't learn our lessons. And the word A means without. So to come back again means to come out and there is no gain. This is also part of the Buddhist teachings of samsara, the Four Noble Truths of suffering. And suffering is what we all do. Okay, 4. The number 4 is a cube or a square. And forever we stay in the box. We are boxed in our ring or cycle, so we recycle again and again and no gain until they destroy us or destroy again. All roads lead to Rome and our romance and our Roman Latin laws and our Roman numerals and X marking the spot and X games and XXX pornography. All right, getting further down. Now, they like to play word games with us, like, do you know the President of the United States and who the opponent was? It was Barack Osama, Joe, Bin, Biden, Obama, Laden, Hussein. See how they mix up the name sounding? And now we got trumped by the Donald, who is playing the last hand of the elite. In bridge, the last hand is the trump card, okay? But before that, we got snowed in by Eric Snowden with a massive information that covered all and then melted away once the snow melted. And then Bernie made off with the money, and Congressman Andy Weiner got in trouble for his hot dogging sexual escapades with his wiener. And then we have the new Federal Reserve, reserve like in 10ness, Janet Yellen, because she's yelling about the $21 trillion in debt. But before that, we had Alan Greenspan. Remember the greenback dollar to prop up the dollar in the Fed's reserve? The Federal Reserve is no more federal than Federal Express in the game of 10 or X, 10s in Roman Latin law. This is why Washington, D.C. was called Rome, Maryland before it was Washington, D.C., trying to connect with D.C. or direct current to charge our battery. But we all find in our account is AC to count from. We're the alternate current. On a sidebar here, the White House is named after Andrew White, the Apostle of Maryland, a Jesuit. Washington, D.C. was donated by John Carroll, a Jesuit, 6 months after he founded Georgetown University, where Bill Clinton went to. Donald Trump went to Fordham. He's a Jesuit. Pence is a Jesuit. In California here, Governor Jerry Brown, Jesuit school. Gavin Newsom, who will be the next governor. San Francisco mayor, Jesuit school. The head of the UC system here, former Department of Homeland Security. Janet Napolitano, Jesuit school as well, folks. They're the ones that run the show, the Jesuits and the Vatican. The Potomac was called the Tiber River before it became Washington, D.C. I'd like to ask you a question, anybody. What date was Washington, D.C. founded? This is where the President, the Congress, and the supreme law of the land resides. And no one can tell what the date was founded. I'll leave it up to you to look it up or watch one of my videos about it. What does D.C. mean when we charge the candidate with our elections
when was DC
while we vote
founded?
or vote at the terminal or polls? Then we have romantic feelings while playing the field while we roam. Again, the Roman theme. Sidebar here, the head of National Academy of Science and Junk Science in the world of fake news is named Marcia McNutt.
1860?
Can't make this stuff up.
80?
While our mind is being mined, but we don't seem to mind at all. Because most of us are asleep, as in a sleep unless we go to a wake, and then we are awake. Is this why being wide awake we are mourning in the morning? Unless we are being selfish or a cell like a battery fish being schooled in school with spells. And if we go to the law system, it's just us, or justice, or just on ice. Now, jus means soup. And like juice on ice, it's frozen from the broth or brotherhood of the Freemasons. Until you get a trouble again, then you're in hot water. Life is just a rehearsal for our death. Dead is debt. Mortgage, mort means dead as in mortuary. So this is the age of the dead as in debt. We can get interned by our interrest. We wake up, awake as a funeral. Wake up to dying. In our legal ship, we leave a wake or a wave. A wave is a naval seaman. Seaman or sperm. We wave and we say, hell, oh, and nobody thinks twice about it. All right, in court we have case law. There's an uppercase and a lowercase in letters. The upper courts are lower courts, are also lower courts. A lawsuit may not suit you, but also might suit you to a T until you put the case away in a suitcase. If judged guilty, you are put in a pen and read your rights. What's left? You have the right to remain silent because silence is golden. Yet in contractual law, silence is consent, where they sent the cons to, consent. You get arrested, then you get a rest between sentencing. See how it's all about words and language? Then you go to the Department of Corrections for correcting your mistakes. An arrestor is an electrical unit device that prevents or stops a specified thing like a lightning charge. You get arrested by the police to face charges, and then you're put in a cell. A cell is a battery, as you may be charged with assault or assault and battery. Salt is needed to make the battery work where you need to stand your ground against the charges. You may beat the charge of assault and battery so we can go to the ball game where the pitcher and catcher are called the battery. Batter up. Until you're hearing against the charges, because law is oral and silence is consent, where the cons are sent by definition or definition by the defendant or defendant. Attorneys are members of the Bar Templar of England. Bar, B-A-R, means British Accredited Registry. The corporation is registered in Puerto Rico, a city-state. and held in corporate papers by the City of London. Their duty is the first of the courts in the public and cannot practice unless a bar member. A client, or client, is deemed a ward of the court in relation to their attorneys. The ward of the court is defined as infants and persons of unsound, again the hearing, mind, placed by the court under the care of a guardian in the garden of law. Now, why are doctors and lawyers always practicing anyway? And when information is changed, they are doctored. A constable is an officer of the stable of horses. The warden lives in the den of war. War is money, money is war. Money is the root of evil, so we veil it while we live in vile times. The yellow fringe around the flag in court means that we are lost souls at sea and do not stand ground. This is why FedEx is shipped even by land. Parents are a pair that rents us to breed new babies until they go to paradise or a pair of dice, or roll the dice. The female is the cost to be bred. That is why it's called a marriage and may not be stable because the groom who grooms the horse did not pony up enough money to bridle her or reign over. The moon is Luna, and if you're a moon, you are shown someone's ass and declared a lunatic, and why someone is hormonal or a hormonal. The male delivers, like a horse livery, into the female and given birth until the water comes down the birth canal, where you find a landmark on a piece of paper registered in your mother's name and securitized in the United States against the debt of 1933 to the banksters. We are all registered property of the banksters. This is why the court is a racket and the case is tossed back and forth in 10x10is. Okay? Now, as far as the birth certificate goes, when they used to put your foot on the document and the landmark, it is because they are keeping you out at sea and you're under contractual law obligation. All law is contract, common law is contract law. You may want relief, but what is a real lie once you realize the real lies? Statutes are statues that stand over us, while the controllers who troll their cons on all are the architects or archon text by which laws are made. Sails are sails on ships. That's why we sail into court on our citizenship, relationship, partnership, ownership, etc. And the bailiff helps us get out of hot water in the docket. You may have gotten taken advantage by loan sharks through your cash flows in currency, where interest may turn us if we don't pay and pay and pay. It's a 6-6 cycle or cyclical, where a scythe may be used to separate us from our daily bread. Business is business. That is why we are considered the B team members and have our babies, as in horse, to get the honey, or liquid amber gold, the nectar of the gods. Oh God, how gaudy. Now the capital, or cap it all, is why our names are in all caps. This is on your birth certificate, this is on your Social Security, this is on your driver's license, this is on your bank statements, all in capital letters, because you have become a part of the corp or corporation. This means you're a fictitious character and a straw man, which we got into in the last video. All acts are axes of Congress. If you look on the House of Congress on each side, you'll see the licor, or the axeman's hench, on each side of the deity where the president gives his State of the Union speech. Now, it's called a stock market because we are all cattle or chattel, using our pens to sign away our lives to fictitious characters. Heart is anagram for earth, and home is where the hearth is. Inside is art. We may take stock in this, but the beat will go on until the music dies. Now, there's acts for the actor. A character is a care actor. All the words are stage, and we're merely actors. We live in a crypt with our script. Chorus is the core of us. Acquire is when we acquire, like a good squire, until we squirrel away our nuts. Soldiers are sold to die. That is why they have dog tags. But heroes, or the male legs, who fight for the right to conduct war for money, because money, or one eye, is war. And war is in racket until we get back in court again. The occult means hidden, while the ocular is the eye, hence the one hidden eye on the back of the $1 US bill. Jesus was a crucifixion, was a cross of fiction. You go to the church and you sit in pews. Why pews? Pew comes from the French word pierre. Why pews? Because it stinks to high heaven and cause heaving rather than get to rise to heaven by your daily bread. And you are bred to stink to high heaven through the leaven or bread. All rise and give your dough in the till, or until we say mercy. You are a ewe, a sheep. Something disgusting, we go, ew. Administars are ad mini stars. Easter is the Eastern Star, and ministars are mini stars. And we are always put to work. We have homework, schoolwork, we work out, we go to work, we're busy work. We get weak from working all week, so we get a weekend and need the weekend. And then we be live the hype, and then we're hypocritical. A hypo is a needle is hypo. Vaccines are from the word vaca or cow, as brought in by cowpox by the Jesuits. The Jesuits are also in the movies Men in Black and V for Vendetta. Those are Jesuit movies that you need to check out. Now that we've weaved and thrown everything into a mess, I hope you get the mess of this age, or the message. All right, now numbers have meanings also. The cycles of life, 666 is used to master all. 1 is to exist. 2 is to be aware. 3 is to create. 4 is to study. 5 is to struggle. 6 is to master. 7 is to rest. 8 is to reward. And 9 is to end. X marks the spot for our existence, tennis, and is X-rated. Exactly. Satan or Satan. Santa or NASA with a T in the serpent tongue. It's all the same. All right, so we take the numbers and we get 911. 9, 1 plus 1. 9 means the end, and 2 means the aware. Are you aware of the end that 911 represented? And if you take the Roman numerals, I have these backwards, it should be IX and XI, which is 911, are Roman numerals. All roads lead to Rome, while we roam around and around in a circuit, charging our credit and going into mortal debt with our mortgages while they're playing death games with us. So the Twin Towers were brought down because they were the Freemason symbols of Joachim and Boaz, should be an Z there, and entered the middle path between the two towers of the gates of Solomon's temple. Solomon means sun and moon, silver and gold. When these little icons or idols of society disintegrated before everyone's eyes, the psychological fabric of America and much of the world was rent in two, not only at a conscious level, but at a subconscious level, which is even more powerful, shredding a timeless symbol laden with esoteric meanings and associations held deep in the soul. The lie is exposed, the spell is broken, and the illusion loses its power over you once you realize with your realize the realize. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll catch you on the next one. It's Plain Truth out. Peace.
In the book of non
Oh yeah.
Here's something for everyone to take note of. Jurisdiction has to be brought to a higher level. The Declaration of Independence is our supreme law, not the Constitution. The people are the authority, and we have dissolved ourselves from the allegiance to the British Crown. The British Crown owns the Bar Association. Thus, all bar members, infiltrators committing espionage and subversion. Our enemies are running our country through the Bar Association. This started in 1787 when the Constitution was written with subversive language by attorneys, such as the frivolous claim that the Constitution was our supreme law. It isn't. For proof of this, you cite the Declaration of Independence, which guarantees us government by consent and duty to throw off such government after a long train of abuses and usurpation. We did not consent to the Bar Association usurping the authority of the people by infesting the judiciary with bar members who rule against the Constitution every day. We were tricked. Naturally, you can't win this argument while an enemy bar member sits on the bench and will always rule in favor of the Bar Association. You can't beat lawyers by arguing with them. We have to unite against the enemy that infiltrated our country and destroyed our freedom. When we decide to do that, 300 million of us can easily remove 1.3 million enemy lawyers, attorneys, and judges from our presence. That's the solution. Stop fighting the enemy in courts that they run. Unite and fire them from our government. Found this on a different site in the comment section. Any comment of validity or validation is much appreciated. Please leave your comment and take a look at exactly what a lawyer in the Bar Association represents. And you'll find that this is a hard truth to face. And then ask yourself, why is it everything that goes on now is answered with we cannot give legal advice. You have to speak to a lawyer or an attorney. And then go right back over what he's saying here in this post by Michael Ward. It's a huge mess, and until we remove the enemy from our midst, well, we're going to keep on losing. And see the video on my page of the lawyer admitting that they run the country and make the laws for their benefit and help fill the private prisons for profit. And you'll see that just how big the subversion is, and the abuses and the usurpation and the collusion in the judicials. Thanks for listening.
I would like to say to my brothers and sisters in Nestle, I give you an Ethiopian greeting from most most of the cultures that occupy that land. When Brother Bratt make reference to my wife Gertrude, she was temporarily out of the room, so I think I will introduce you to her again. So, with the real Mrs. Benyakan, please stand. I'm traveling tonight with a very good friend of mine, and I know most of you will be lost for word when I introduce him and his title. The Reverend Sam Brown is a friend of mine and a Baptist minister. Sam Brown. He's doing his stuff in the vineyards of Queens, way out in Long Island. And you know, being a friend of mine, he's kept in hell in the pulpit. What I'm doing now, after 53 years, starting in 1939, isn't accidental, and at the same time, I did not plan it this way. I was warned by my father that what I was doing as a youngster could only result in one of two things. And my father then told me, you don't take a job if you're going to be a gambler. There is no successful gambler working. If you're a gambler, you must spend all of your time to understand the tricks and tricks of gambling. You can't waste time and working. Otherwise, you're fooling yourself. So when I started, didn't understand where I was going, I took a career of civil engineering. That hadn't given me what I was looking for in my inner self, and at the time I wasn't even conscious of it. I turned to anthropology, cultural anthropology. That still did not meet my need, and I went into Moorish history. None of these things satisfied my need, and then I went to my father's first profession, law. Neither of these things satisfied my inner need, but they gave me a preparation in order to fight what was to come way up the road. And so it is that I had a last qualification to make. And that was to decide whether I was going towards money or whether I was going towards a struggle. And probably at the time when I started, I probably was not too clear on which way I had to go. So like any other young man, there were times in my youth when I too saw the flashiness of a car and thought that it meant something other than transportation. Clothing and everything else. And I made quite a few mistakes in those days. But things start to gel when I realized there was a sharp distinction between going towards wealth and going towards a peace of mind. And quite early I made the decision that sometimes you have to take the route of the peace of mind, but the peace of mind did not necessarily mean the comfort of not paining. To have the peace of mind meant to go to jail, it meant to be spat at and on, it meant to be shots fired to you, your car attacked, your person, and family problems. But the peace of mind came that while you were in jail, you could sleep, unless they were purposely at the time harassing you physically. And I had all of those experiences. The ultimate and last point of this came in the entire month of August with the Egyptian experience I had, because the Egyptian government and many of its officials anticipated my mind, though my actions did not give away my mind. The Egyptian government summarized, or members within it summarized, that my total behavior from 1939 until 1991 was because of my commitment to my people, the Nubians. And that they felt that anyone dedicated so to their people will probably do anything in that effort to free their people. And so when it was that the struggle came for an Arab Egyptian trying to wrest from me that dream I had in placing Nubia again to the world by establishing this Nubian festival, which may have sounded good and playful, pleasurable, and everything like that, a holiday in the stars, so to speak, that they saw in this a totally different thing, which it was. They saw in this an attempt to bring to the world, and on the world scale internationally, the Nubian people highlight as those of Egypt. True, they were. But the charges against me for how this was to come about was totally erroneous, and the persons who plotted this in conjunction with international bodies were fighting against me at that point, not as Joseph Ben Yekanan. I have been barred from countries before. I have been placed in jail by countries that have been escorted back to the airport by the head of state of St. Kitts, Bradshaw. So I known all of these experiences and knew they would come from different sources for different reasons. But what was the primary reason that I had reached this point? So I never asked, why me? I never asked the question. I will never ask the question, why not me? For what I was engaged in doing and will be continuing to do when I return to Egypt on the 19th of October cannot be stopped. And someone asks, how do you mean it can't be stopped? You're a human being, you could die like anybody else. Well, if I die, I will die either by a gun, a knife, or just calmly die in some black woman's hands. I mean, what you know about that sort of thing. But nevertheless, I will die. And someday must die, based upon what I'm seeing. But I will continue to the last of the breath to be struggling toward Nubia, And so with that, I made it possible that money never played an important part, though it is important. The pursuit of it is very difficult, and at times it makes it uneasy for me to perform what I have to perform. But what is it? When 1936, and then subsequently in 39, when I made my first move in terms of Egypt, then I started what happened to me in August. We expect that only when we do things momentarily in one day, the reaction to what we have done just a few minutes prior to what comes down on us, we feel is that the thing that actually we're paying for. No. What happened to me in August 1991 began in 1939, and this was the response to what I did then. Between 1939 and 1991, what happened was the intensity of what I had begun in 1939. And because I knew it, when I went to Papua New Guinea, arrived in Papua New Guinea with $19 in my pocket, not knowing where I'm going, it didn't bother me, because when I was assured that 99% of the population looked like me, I knew I didn't need more than $19. I didn't know I didn't need $19. Because I knew what I had to do to live among them people. I had certain skills. I had the skill of law, the skill of engineering, and the skill of historical research. And there's no way that I could make contact with anyone there and we could communicate that I would need bread to eat. Since it is that my objectivity was always the African people. When I was teaching at Columbia University, I'm going to go into history, but this is important to understand me. I was simultaneously lecturing 2 blocks from here, exactly, on the southwest corner of 125th Street, right in front of the chock full of nuts. I would come down from Teachers College, where I was teaching 2 courses, to 125th Street to the University of Hard Knocks. And there I took all kind of abuse because my language was not proper. I did not know to speak to my brothers and my sisters. I too spoke with long syllabic words. I was the epitome of a British house slave. All my words were so properly spoken, and sometimes I had to trouble over my accent and the words to get to my people who had not heard a word I was saying, until I started to learn the word motherfucker. When I learned to say that and to speak it with all the strength and vigor, as against a gentleman who mates with his partner, I had no one to understand me. And then I learned something in the Christian church. I spoke the language of the people. Some of you can't stand it, of course, as the people, but for the first time I was able to communicate with all of my people, those in the big house and those on the plantation. Previous to that, I was communicating solely with the big house. And the big house could not hear me because what I had to say was not for the big house. What I had to say was for the audience here and the rest of the audience like you. I wanted to bring what I saw in Egypt to the average African man, woman, and child. Because I know that what I had was a liberating device. I had seen my people sitting and praying for a wife or a husband, sitting and praying for a fur coat or a Mercedes-Benz, sitting and praying for all kind of frivolous nonsense, carrying it to the door of the Lord and leaving it there on the doorstep, coming back 2 weeks later and there it still was on the doorstep. And I realized that the answer, though theosophy and religion has its value, it is not the way with it all. For I realized that the minister would be never, if going to the Lord in prayer was really the thing, hardly a minister would have been in the pulpit. I knew all that. I knew that what my people believed in was what Carter G. Woodson admonished us not to go in, because it resulted in what he said at that time, the miseducation of the Negro. Marcus Messiah Garvey, whose son is here with us, one of the two, was a man who I looked at with a reverence not less than my own biological father. And I remember in his teachings way down there when I grew up in the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico, he asked the question, what is an education? For what purpose? He said,
I don't know why my nose.
It's not necessarily what you take in. For more than often, you will have to let that same thing out. I'm paraphrasing, of course. And it had an impact on me. And what was to have a knowledge, to know something, to see your people struggling for that knowledge, which is theirs, to see them being Pavlov eyes, like Pavlov dog, and not being able to recognize that we are going down the aisle. First thing was to make my people, to free them from the Adam and Eve syndrome, free them from the guilt feeling, guilt symptom of being responsible and something being diabolically wrong for having a child without a piece of paper from City Hall. Having them free from calling themselves such as black sheep of the family, when this should be the proud point of the black family, it was denigrating to the family. To speak of everything and be afraid of it, the blackness of the night, and there's more blackness than there is light. To be afraid of your own skin, and to be shocked by the mirror when the mirror revealed it. All these things I saw without coming out and speaking on the issue per se. It is at that time that I equally came to the United States and met with an older boy. You would not think that we were ever boys. I met with a fellow from Georgia, Little Bubba Clark, a little bit older than I am. And so when we meet any place, I always have to give him first consideration. But we met in the Schomburg, and I see a lady sitting down right on my right-hand side, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 7 rows back, who was a mentor. And we don't speak about mentors, but the mentors have the point in helping to mold us. And I was partly molded by this woman, Miss Hudson, sitting right there. Will you stand up, Miss Hudson? Think about. No, take a bow. You gotta take a bow. Take a bow. I had to because you claim how beautiful the Schomburg is, and that's what I'm talking about. What a beautiful place, what an intellectual place, everything about it. And of course, we give honor to Brother Otto Lanza Schomburg and others. But I am a living witness for the many, many nights till 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, coming back from meeting with that young lady there, going home by herself towards the Hudson River, trying to get what you now got there. Alfred Levine and Arthur Schnitzender et al. And sorry, Mayor Dinkins.
Moderator for the program. We have two very special guests. One is Dr. Yosef Ben Yochanan, who is an African anthropologist, an educator, an author, and a scholar. He's on my right, and on my left is Dr. George Simmons. Dr. Simmons is also a professor. He was born in the St. Croix, Virgin Islands, USA. And we will discuss a number of topics this evening. These gentlemen are here to talk about African origins. As you know, in America, Black History Month is celebrated every February. Without further ado, let's get right into it, because I know they have some interesting viewpoints that will stimulate your thinking, even if you disagree with them or agree. I'm going to call you Dr. Ben, if that's okay, because I understand that's what people usually call you.
Yes.
One of the more controversial positions that you take is that black Africans landed in America 2,000 years before Columbus.
I would not specify the day, but probably exceeding 2,000 years. The fact is that Columbus never came to the United States of America or North and South America. He came as close as San Salvador. There's a rumor that says that Columbus came to America. He did not come to America. He came to an island off America. Vespucci came to America, not Columbus. He came to the Caribbeans. But it is commonly stated, just as much as they state, that Columbus discovered America while the Indians sat down watching doing it. Now, but the knowledge of Africans in the Americas quite knowledgeable to scholars. The fact that it's suppressed doesn't have any validity at all.
Let me bounce a couple of things off of you. One thing, this article that I'm going to be referring to our home audience and to our studio audience, this article came out in the September 1981 issue of Science Digest, and it's entitled Black Kings in Ancient America. You and some other black scholars believe that these people, African people, came to this continent before Columbus.
We don't believe, we know.
How do you know? What evidence?
The evidence is there. For example, when you go to Central America, the Yucatan Peninsula, and at Ecuador and places like that, they have caches of Carthaginian money found 200 feet down in the ground, meaning that there were pluvial disruptions, and those money was buried. So it indicates a period of time at least. From that, when you look at the stratas, you can tell the period of time in which they've been here. And when you're talking about Carthage, you're talking about at least 212 BC, when Carthage was finally destroyed by the Romans. Again, the Queen Makeda, which you call the Queen of Sheba, there are maps which Rome, the church in Rome, the so-called Holy Father, has suppressed these maps from the time of Justinian, showing South America and what is today called Central America. The maps there, and Victoria, Makeda goes back to at least 892 BC.
Before Christ.
Let
me point out another thing, just from the same article. I don't know if we can see this on television. But here is tell me what this is, and why do you see this as proof of the presence of Africans in America before?
That is the head of an Olmec. And the Olmecs were said to be the first of the indigenous Americans. And if an Olmec walked in here, then you would believe that he had come from the middle of Africa. And there is no doubt about it that all of the writers prior to racism admitted that the Olmecs were in fact Africans who had come across here. There is no doubt when Pigafetta and others, the point is that Van Sertima is writing and others, but Leo Weiner in 1938 at Harvard University wrote a 2-volume book for which he was fired about the Africans, Olmecs being Africans. And
let me bounce this off of you, okay? You took the same statue. You say, well, you say that they're obviously black features, thick lips, broad nose.
the stereotype.
Okay, the stereotype. Other anthropologists say, I think Michael Cole was one of them. He says that this is not a black man. He said the people who made these statues, which I understand are 8 feet high, the people who made these statues didn't have sharp enough tools to give them white features, so they're not really black statues. They're white people carved with crude tools. What's your response to that?
It's strange that the tools were not sharp enough to make narrow noses, but it was sharp enough to put eyelids. So it would seem to me that an eyelid is harder to make than a thin nose. But Michael Cole is no less a racist than the head of the Ku Klux Klan. I mean, what's the difference between Michael Cole, Reagan, and the Ku Klux Klan? It have the same philosophy. What is the difference between the fellows writing the Bible and write about the Queen of Sheba saying to Solomon, look not, ye daughters of Canaan, look not upon me because I'm black. My parents sent me in the vineyard and that's all this nonsense. She's black because nature made her black. Her mother and father were black. That's why she's black. Had nothing to do with going in the vineyard, even though it's in the Bible.
Okay, you talked about religion. We're going to get to that in a while. Let me turn to Dr. Simmons. You also agree with this position that Africans weren't in this...
I have no problem, no doubt. As a matter of fact, speaking about, like Dr. Ben mentioned, and you spoke about Michael Nico, I owned a book several years ago and still have it in my possession by Michael Nico himself, who is considered one of America's leading archaeologists and anthropologists from Yale, one of America's most prestigious schools. In his own work, he referred to them as Negroid. And he went further to state the title of the book is America's First Civilization, what he calls civilization. And to turn around and to tell these youngsters and other people in America in particular that the black men were the first to build any type of civilization in America will be disturbing to Americans. And so,
let me ask you this, even if you're right, let's say you're right, what difference does it make?
It makes a lot of difference.
What kind of difference?
It takes the inferiority complex